Okay, we're going to talk about something that's very, very important, and today we're delving into a crucial topic that affects all of us. We're talking about estate planning, whether you're just starting to consider your legacy or revisiting existing plans. Guess what? It's essential to navigate this process with care. So we're going to get some good help here. We're here with certified financial planner and professional, your financial quarterback, Jim Lineweaver. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things that people don't want to talk about. They think it's going to take care of itself, and if you let it take care of itself, it ain't taking care of anybody.
No, you know, when it comes to your wills and trusts and powers of attorney, a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. And this is why we're going to be hosting an education program with Dan Barron coming up next week. But, you know, whether it be a trust where we've seen people that have good intentions, you maybe say, hey, 30, 40, 50, that's when you want distributions, you go to kids. But you're going to, sometimes they force a distribution as opposed to just allowing them to have access. And then you lose all the protection of the trust, right? Yeah. Also, people aren't setting up beneficiary designations correctly. So a lot of times, especially on annuities, if you have a trust and if you leave an annuity primary beneficiary to a trust, especially if it's a non-IRA one, they're treated as what's called LIFO, last in, first out, meaning even if you're trying to stretch it, your family is going to have to pay all the taxes on the interest up front before they get any principal. So there's a lot of things you got to be careful about, because anytime you have a beneficiary designation or transfer on death or payable on death, it's all going to trump your will. It'll all trump your trust. So you got to be very careful how you piece these things together.
Man, you use the term very careful, and I think about that, and I think of somebody about, you know, they got information and they did it all, and they think they've got it together. These things change sometimes, and you have to update and take another look?
Always, yeah. Like, matter of fact, there's a lot of times there's what's called springing powers of attorney when it comes to your powers of attorney for, you know, financial purposes. But there's certain conditions that make that have to be triggered before it can go into effect, and those could change over time. So you got to make sure you're staying on top of this. I'd recommend every 3 to 5 years you get it reviewed by an estate planning attorney, just to dot your I's and cross your T's.
Yeah, you know, old school. You know, that's when you're on the kitchen table with a pencil and a pen, writing down all this kind of stuff, and then something happens, you know, you pass, and your family thinks they're going to get the house and all this kind of stuff, and next thing you know, you got big problems.
Yeah, well, when it comes to a legacy, the biggest issue of where you're ever going to run into a money problem with your family, and you're not going to know about it because you're not going to be here anymore, is when the family inherits money. And we've seen so many problems with that, because, you know, that and estate planning with financial planning really come hand in hand, right? Because also when people get into retirement, you got to coordinate health care, which is running for your average person over 65 over $300,000 just for health care. You're running into major long-term care issues where these insurance companies are dramatically jacking up the premium, or you're going to have to lower, you know, the benefits that you're receiving. So there's a lot of things that you have to coordinate in addition to this.
So where do you start? How do you get this thing untangled? How do you figure out how it's going to work? And is it the same fix for everybody, or is it one of those very individual kind of situations?
This is really individual, because this is where you should see professionals, or we can quarterback, but your financial, tax, legal, and insurance. Because you could try to have the best estate plan in the world, but if you're losing a lot of the taxes when it goes to the next generation, that doesn't help you either, right? No. So you really want somebody that can coordinate, you know, not be able to take a step back and say, okay, here's your insurances, here's the legal document, and work with your attorney. Here's your investment planning and stuff, and how do you try to pull all that together to make sure it's a good cohesive plan for your individual strategy, and it has to be customized.
Yeah, and this is one of those kind of things, you know, nobody wants to think about writing their will, or, you know, what's going to happen with the will and all that sort of thing. But it ends up being so important in the end that you should probably be planning this right now. If you could be like 40, you could be 50 or whatever, and it's one of those things, as you said, it changes all the time. So you have to stay up to date with it, make it part of your schedule with your financial planner. You
really do. Even just some of the spend-down rules in Medicaid have changed in the last couple of years. So, you know, the tax code isn't this thick for a reason, right?
Right.
And it changes, and that's why we have Mark to help us on the tax side.
It's never set up to help you, the taxpayer.
Right. Yes.
I mean, it's like a game.
Yes. Unfortunately, and everybody, right?
And you have to stay in the game.
Next Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to know what's going on. Hey, tell them a little bit about what you got coming up.
Yeah. So we're partnering with Dan Barron, estate planning attorney. It's going to be next Tuesday and Thursday at the Brecksville Recreation Center. It's at 5:30. We already have quite a few people that have already signed up for it, but if your viewers would like, just reach that number on the screen, and we can make sure we get them in for next week's program.
You know, and you get to share some information, not just with the people that are there, but, you know, your experts and you, and you know, sometimes that little tiny question that you've had in the back of your mind is going to change your life and your family's life also.
Yeah, and what we're going to do is we're going to be helping people kind of not get their own shins kicked in by actually, going through stories and stuff of how
Yep.
they could prevent these things from happening to them in the future.
Great. Hey, thank you very much.
Yep, good seeing you.
Okay, folks, here we go.